think we're good. So I suppose I'm supposed to officially call this meeting to order, being a committee chair. It feels all official. Debbie has printed out, what did you call these, trial balances? For the year 2011 and 2012. And I think these were per request of Mr. Stafford, who's declined participating in the budget committee. So, where's my agenda? There it goes. Our goals and objectives are the first thing on the agenda. My goal, one of my goals that I wrote down a few, was that I would like for us, at least those on this committee, to begin with, to be able to fully understand how the budget works so that there's not confusion.
It's very hard to understand.
It is, and one of my goals is to be able to look at it in an educated way so that we can try to cut some spending. I think that the budget that we passed, in my opinion, should have been cut, and it wasn't cut, it was raised. And I would really like to, I don't know, is it possible in the course of a year to revise a budget?
Yes, you actually revise the budget at least once in the year, but generally we revise it at least twice. Normally it's
Okay.
at a 6-month mark, which was March 31st.
Okay,
So your goal would be to make a revision if you need to in April.
so that could be a goal of the committee, is to be able to review it enough that we could create an acceptable budget.
Yes.
Let me find my pen. Should have that ready.
The budget's just a guideline, isn't it, Debbie? Try to follow, more or less.
I mean, you're bound by your budget as far as at the end of the fiscal year, your budget is what you're gonna present to the auditors, and they're gonna issue an opinion onto whether you're following your own guidelines. Because at some point in their report, they're gonna put in there your budget versus, and they're gonna look at that final budget, which you can revise your budget every month if you want to.
Okay,
But you have to revise it generally at least once. But
Twice last year, didn't we?
yeah, last year I think we changed it maybe March because of the police cars, and then at the end of the fiscal year.
okay. So I think that would be a good goal, is for us as a budget committee to be able to possibly put together a budget that's acceptable, that we can present to the council when it comes time to revise the budget.
I agree.
Would you feel comfortable with that, Debbie?
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, Debbie's got too much, she has too much thrown on her all at once.
yes,
She does, I know.
okay. So we have one goal and objective. Do you have anything else that you would like to
I
add, Larry?
think pretty well covered it.
Okay. What about you, Debbie? Do you have anything you would like to?
No, I just, honestly, I put that on the agenda because to me, what's the point of having a committee if you don't have a plan for?
Exactly.
And Andrew didn't really give you guys that when he appointed the committee, so I figured
Yes.
that was your own
There
responsibility.
hasn't.
to come up.
I have not had any direction from Andrew, so does anybody else have any thoughts? Got any goals for us?
It's cool that you guys are working on this.
All right. Okay, so
Something you feel about the swimming pool.
discussion, at the meeting Tuesday night, it was, voted on. We had the YMCA came, Dominic had, 4 proposals that they would be willing to negotiate with the city, and we voted on one that they could go ahead and move forward with, and get their attorney involved and start the process. One of the things that I would suggest that might be something we could do to help with our budget issues is do the same thing with the pool, with the parks. Maybe we continue to maintain the parks, but they could take over the sports programs. And that would free up our employee that we have on the parks to maybe do a little more if he wasn't focused on sports. I don't know, that was just an idea that I had. Since we're on discussion, I'm sorry, we're moving on to number 2.
We need someone like it's well orientated
But
and everything.
I might have
You know,
brought
the
myself.
YMCA, the good thing with that is Tammy Miller's already been there running the pool before, so
Yes.
it's like she knows the demographics of the community.
And she recommended it, and so she was the best pool manager. And being that she recommended it,
What about the maintenance?
here, I'm gonna find the plan right now, I brought it with me. The city would still be required to maintain the pool, opening and closing, okay, here we go.
Don't that have to have lift chairs put in this year?
I don't know, that would be something that they would have to address, I think.
It does. I think that law.
Well, I think the law kind of got extended, that would really be a question more for Bobby. But if it's required, the way I understood it, that they would expect us as a capital improvement to go ahead and do that. But if it's the law, you need to do it regardless,
Yeah.
but I think that would fall under our obligation.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I wanted to know.
Well, just for example, I personally think that this will save the city money by allowing the Y to take over the pool. We lost, around $10,000 on the pool last year from my estimations, I just subtracted the income from the expenses for the pool.
And we had a lot of extra expense on that first.
And we lost about $10,000. So the WISE proposal leaves the city with the responsibilities of equipment and pool repairs as needed. We are going to let them use any remaining supplies, chemicals that we might have, but I don't think we will be purchasing new ones. They would be required to do that in the
Yeah, I
future.
think so.
And then we would be responsible for the opening and closing maintenance of the pool, filling it up,
Mhm.
emptying it out, that stuff. And we're going to pay utilities, water and electricity. And those are the expenses that we would be left with. And we would pay the Y $5,200 for the year. So $5,200 plus the expenses for those things. I didn't do the math, and I shouldn't do math because.
I actually did the math if you want to see, Christine.
Yes, I do.
I did it when we were talking the other night, and
I
nobody
did
asked
too,
for it.
but I can't
I
find
did,
where I
you know, I
did
did it, this is what I took the expenses minus what we made. I came up with $1,300 is what we would save. Depending on
That was-
what was classified in this category right here, it
Okay.
might be breaking.
That's the same thing I did, but I can't find the piece of paper that I did it on. I think it is in here somewhere.
Yeah, I kind of roughly did that while they were talking, and then nobody asked.
Okay,
so.
but it would actually save us money doing that.
That's good.
Oh, here it is,
Save us a
look.
lot of hassle.
Okay, so I think that if we,
You wouldn't be paying employees, you wouldn't be paying.
That's right.
lifeguards.
Debbie is gonna be free not to do payroll for all those employees and manage those employees.
Mhm.
Bobby is not going to have the headache of dealing with pool issues, so they're free. So their time, to me, is money. So that's more savings right there.
Yeah.
If we were to do this with the parks as well, as far as sports and things, I think we could find some savings there too, because the Y does sports. The Y does a good job with sports, and I think that would be something that maybe would be another goal, go back to number one, that we could look into and see how much that would save us, and if the Y would even be interested. I think that they
I'm
would
sure
be.
they would be.
So, I'm gonna write that down too. Okay, and what else?
Now, if why takes over the management of the pools, what about the citizens?
I think the plan that we approved keeps the rates the same for non-Y members. It's $2 a person to go
Well, that's fine.
to the pool, and then it's free for Y members. I think the one thing that was raised was, swim lessons. Were they $25 last year?
I think so.
Yes, it goes up to 30 for non-members and 20 for members. So members still have to pay for swim lessons. But the Y takes that money, so we won't be coming to the city. Okay, Y Parks program. Another thing I had on my list was, have we ever considered paperless billing for the city? I know that might possibly be an expense to start out with, but, I mean, we send out water bills and we send out tax bills. I don't know if there's laws that say you have to send a paper bill, but for most of the bills that I receive, I pay my stuff online and I get paperless email bills. I don't get anything in the mail.
It would just be something we'd have to look at, because we
Okay.
actually approached our vendor at one time, and we were gonna have to do some converting, and we were just thinking of the occasional person, whereas if we had more, that might be an option. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I
would
mean,
have to have that be like an option for your citizens.
yes, it wouldn't be a
Some don't-
requirement,
Yeah.
but it could, because, I mean, for my AT&T bill, I had to opt in. I had to agree, yeah, I wanna do that, save the paper, and they gave me $10
Well, like a
off
90-year-old
my
woman
first
isn't
bill.
gonna have.
Probably not.
Probably, but it would cut.
But it might be a way to save some money and enter into the new digital world. Okay.
How much is our sales tax down, Debbie?
I mean, it's not down as of yet with what we've seen. I mean, the new sales tax just went into effect, and we haven't got, I mean, I actually just got some sales tax papers today, and I haven't put them in the computer, so if you want me to go put them in, I could look at it and tell you
We'll get it.
if there's any change, but as of last month was the last time,
So,
and it was right on budget.
one question that I have in regards to what we did with the new budget, can you explain to me what this administrative allocation is?
Okay.
Because I know we raised that to show that we had more money in the budget.
Yes, that we took money from the water and sewer fund and transferred it into the general fund. And the how I came up with the number from the last budget was the number used to be really high. Back 20 years ago, they were taking like $45,000 a year.
Okay.
And after Pettit Jean closed, that was one of those things that, you know, we just passed the bond issue, and at the time, the board, you know, through the budget process said, we're gonna take as little money as possible from the water and sewer fund to help the admin. And so we dropped that number really low.
Okay.
So the new number that was put in the budget this year is just based on insurance. I went through the insurance policy.
Okay.
Because right now the general fund pays all the insurance. So it's to pay for things like part of the billing expenses that are in here in City Hall, you know, the
Okay.
expenses of City Hall, the expenses of the insurance, that's all paid through admin.
Okay.
It's just a fee that they really owe.
So it went from $10,000 to $38,000.
Yes.
So basically, when you're sending out water bills, you're doing the work.
Well, it's actually, I think all that was included, I don't have my budget folder with me. I think
It's kind
in
of
my
like a
office.
reimbursement for the work you do for the water and sewer fund.
Well, it's not even
To
that,
that
it was
fund.
more part of the utilities from the building, because they use our building. So right now, admin pays for all that. So I think I halved what the electric bill was for the whole year for
Okay.
City Hall, and we charged half of that to the water and sewer fund.
Okay.
And then besides that, it was insurance. I can try to find that folder real quick, Chris,
I
because
just
I
wanted
did a
to-
sheet. Let me go find
I
it real
just
quick.
wanted to understand it.
I would
'cause
rather
didn't-
give you the right answer, so
Okay.
give me just a second to come up with that folder, because there's a sheet in there that describes
I
everything.
just didn't understand what it was or how it worked. So I need to know.
When we first started our business, I had like every, accountant in town on speed dial. I'm like, okay, I call this one 5 times a day, I'm gonna go call. Cause I was trying to figure it out from the ground up.
Yeah.
So you can't ask too many questions when it comes to that kind of stuff.
The abandoned center was another thing on my maybe money saving list.
But the reason that was spent so much there was the paint,
Well, I know they did some renovations,
and they
but
had to redo it.
I was in there the other day and the heat was set on 75 and it was like 70 degrees outside.
And
And
the doors probably open a lot of time, too. I've been down there, Arizona, the doors wide open.
yeah, so
Are those the people using the building that are doing
Yeah.
that? Or?
It's
Well-
people using it, they just open the door.
we
They don't
need to
realize
set
it.
up some kind of
Hey Ty, could you come here so I can use your eyes?
Policy.
policy, I don't know if that's the right word, for after it's rented, we have a city employee that goes and checks off a list and makes sure that it's basically lights turned off, heat and air turned to a lower setting, and, I mean, it
They're
just,
bad about opening that back door, like they have a garage sale in there, where people can come through there, and errors on everything, it just keeps running. I've been down there several times. that way.
yeah, and if we can, I don't know, we just need to look at that, cause it just seemed wasteful to me, it just stressed me out a little bit, just.
Sorry, I walked in my office without my glasses, so I'm having to
That's
take a
okay.
look.
And that was all I had on my list for now, was those things.
Hey Debbie,
Guess I better look in here and make sure I didn't make any more notes.
do you have an extra copy of your guys' agenda?
Sure, I can have her make you one.
Okay, that's fine.
What?
She found it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, thank you. My tired eyes, come on. Okay, it is half of City Hall's phone expense and half of our electricity for the year. And then our computer system, it's half of our computer system, and it's a pretty good bill because
Yeah, it's like, isn't it 13,000 or something a
it's
year?
$13,150. And that's just the lease. We don't actually own the software.
Yes,
We lease it, get service on it, I mean, we call them if we have issues.
okay,
So it's half of all those expenses, plus the portion of the insurance that relates directly to the water and sewer fund.
Okay,
And it came out to $42,828, and we rounded it to 42,000. Or I guess I did, because I like nice round numbers
okay.
in budget.
Okay, I guess, I mean, I don't really have anything else right now. I'd like to, do we have the authority to approach the Y to discuss the parks, or is that something that we need to now, because we decided that that might be a money-saving option, we can present it to the council and see if they want to pursue that?
Well, I got these, didn't somebody bring it up the other night during the meeting? I got
Mr.
the
Stafford
option, that
did.
I got the impression that the board was interested in that.
Okay.
So I don't think,
I mean, at least as far as maybe possibly getting Dominic to do the same thing he did with the Y, get the
Mhm.
budget numbers and present proposals on what they could do as far as, my ideal is mostly the sports programs, just taking
Yeah.
over the sports programs and seeing if we can save us some money doing that by letting the Y at least try, because
yeah,
I think that it's worth it, it's worth a shot, see if we can save some money there. And I had one more question. As far as the water and sewer fund, it's different than the general revenue. We charge citizens and then that money goes into the water and sewer fund.
yes.
So is there money remaining at the end of the year in that fund that goes to like a carryover account?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have your report, do you have your
I
council
have.
packet with you?
I do.
Okay, I'll show you. And I can show you on the trial balance, but the numbers are added up on what you received
Okay.
at council. And the water and sewer fund gets a little bit more complicated because
It's
there's
like a business.
reserve amounts and
Okay.
other things that you have to have, but. Must be flipping up. Yeah, okay.
Oh
So-
yeah, that counts for that, okay.
When you're looking here, the general fund, this is kind of that cash balance in the general fund.
Okay,
And then just a few payables that are in there to figure the fund balance. The water and sewer fund, I did the same thing for it. Theirs just gets a little bit more complicated. So unrestricted cash, there was $470,000
okay.
at the end of the year.
And as far as this restricted cash,
Okay.
what makes it restricted?
Some of it is, most of it is restricted by your bonding.
Okay,
So you don't, the $836,000, most of that you don't, the city doesn't even have in our hands.
okay,
It's actually in trust with UMB Bank.
okay,
That does include the number that we were talking about the other night of the money that we have set aside to pay for this sewer rehab.
okay,
And I went and grabbed that number and then we never got back to it, which is $385,000. So part of that $836,000 is, 385 of it is restricted
for
by our,
demand,
for construction related to improving our I&I problem.
And what's INI?
Infiltration and inflow.
Okay,
Water coming into the sewer system that's not supposed to.
okay. And possibly water going out of the sewer system that's not supposed to?
Yes.
Okay, alrighty. I was just, I don't know, I'm not an accountant, so I just want to get a better understanding of how it all works, so that when it comes budget time, we can be informed and make better decisions. So, I don't know that I have anything else today, unless you do, Mr. Hicks. So, we need to set the next meeting and the agenda. What can be on our agenda? What do you think? What would you suggest our next step be? You're the expert, I don't think we're gonna get any
Well,
guidance elsewhere.
I mean, do you have any questions about categories? I mean, I just don't even know. I guess if you guys start to look into the trial balance and if you have questions, maybe mark those for the next meeting. and maybe we could get a computer out here that I could actually look stuff up on.
Okay,
Cause I don't have that option right now, but I'd have to like pull my computer out here with a network cable, and we could, if you had specific questions, where we could answer those a little bit better.
okay,
Because, you know, when you look at the trial balance, there's just a lot of numbers, and that's what you had seen before, is there's just a lot of numbers.
yes.
So, to make sure that you guys kind of understand what's involved, if you have any questions about what's involved in any specific category or line or,
And you had given me the trial balance, I requested it during our budget, work, and that's, from those trial balances is where I noticed that we had deficit spending. And that is a problem, because, I mean, in our carryover, basically, it's like a savings account. We have 200-ish thousand left over.
yes.
We spent almost that much last year, over. That was our deficit. And so if that happens again, the city basically runs out of money,
Correct,
and we will be in the red.
correct,
So we need to keep that from happening.
yes.
That's my goal, so just so everybody
And
knows.
so I guess that's the question is, I mean, do you guys just wanna look at, and there needs to be some way of figuring out either raising revenues or cutting expenses.
Yeah.
I
So-
think that being that we did not cut any expenses, we should look at that, because we didn't cut a single thing.
Mhm.
We talked about it, but we didn't actually do it. So I would like to go ahead and start there and see what we can cut without cutting services to the citizens.
I'd like to have a copy of, what Andrew met with each department head.
That would be great, yeah. If he had, did he give them?
He didn't write it down.
Okay.
Oh,
He actually, it was just a meeting with everybody and it was pretty, you need to try to save money. I know you guys are already doing a really good job of it, but I need you to try just a little bit harder.
Had we ever considered, I don't know if this is something that's possible, but would it be something we could do where we would let each department head, in order to give them the incentive to save money, make an agreement that if they spend less, they would not be threatened with having their budget cut because they're spending less. And maybe we can work out something where instead of having a general carryover balance, we can keep track of the savings for each department and allow them to use that carryover that they have left over for their capital purchases if we actually have the revenue. I mean, 'cause I know that the budget is actually just projected, it's an estimate. We don't know that we're gonna make that money. Or even if we didn't give them 100% of what they had left over, maybe a percentage to
Yeah, I would say probably more of a percentage, because if you get to next year and we
Have no
don't
carryover.
have, if we don't have at least $269,000 carryover next year, something has to be cut.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Because that's what you were relied on this year. And I'm using the number off here, it may have been something different we were gonna budget, but it's in that same ballpark.
I was just thinking, you know, generally if I were a department head, I would want to make sure that I spent up to a certain amount in fear of having my budget cut,
Mhm.
because it would show that, oh, maybe they don't need as much money. So in order to possibly give them the incentive to save, maybe we could do that.
Could the department heads maybe receive some kind of an end of the year bonus, you know, a little bit out of their thing that would want?
Well, I don't know about,
do that
Do you
lately.
think that would?
I don't know about a financial
you can-
bonus for them, but just, I mean, they're running their departments and
Right.
there's capital improvement requests at the beginning of each budget year. It would seem wiser to me to wait and see how much money you had left at the end of the year and then do your capital
Well,
improvement
I guess
purchases.
that's the other thing is we haven't even discussed, and that's something that needs to, I assume come out of this meeting or out of this committee is the proposal of how you all are gonna spend the new capital improvement sales tax.
Yes,
Because that has not been budgeted for.
you know what, I had
thought
not
of that.
even considered that,
I
but
hadn't thought of that.
good idea, so that's something we can put on our agenda for next time.
So I
is-
think looking at capital improvements, I mean, as far as you can go back through the requests that this department heads have already kicked out, or
Uh-huh.
if you wanted to meet with them again. You're the committee that's supposed to come up with recommendations for the board, I assume.
That's a good, I hadn't really considered that. And then the transportation fund as well, I mean, we need to look at all the revenue, all of
Yeah.
the funds, it's not just a general fund thing, it's,
Well, I think when this, I
And
definitely
overall-
think when the Locust Street is done, you
Yeah,
need to look at that really strong, but until we know exactly how much money's left,
Okay,
I think we're gonna have to watch out this, our wastewater, like we was getting in on this, our runoff.
yeah.
That's gotta be the problem before we do any more work down on this side of town, that's my idea.
Well, that just opened up a whole new avenue that I hadn't even, I don't know why I didn't even dawn on me
so I
to
mean, I
think of
guess
that.
that's the thing is, if you incentivize them by using the general fund with, what do you want for next year? You're gonna have a better chance at getting your capital
Mhm.
improvements if you can
Keep
help
your
us
spending
save
down.
money over here. Because that is gonna be a separate pool of money for us to contend with.
That's a good idea. And I don't know what kind of agreement we can enter into with department heads to assure them that we want to, I mean, I don't even know if the council would think it would be a good idea. It's just a thought that I had that might help them have the incentive to save.
To save.
So,
But see, Debbie does a lot of the department heads' budget for
mhm,
them, because they don't understand it.
okay.
Am I right, Debbie?
Well, I mean, I do Rogers, I have the whole
Well,
time
you
I've
do-
been here, cause
You do more too,
he doesn't,
he don't understand it.
yeah, and he waits till the end and brings me his want list
Mhm.
and we
That's great,
figure out
that's
where to
great.
put it,
I appreciate you doing it.
so.
Okay, so for our next meeting, would it be all right if, before we make the agenda, just like we do with our regular council meetings, if something else comes up, then I
Yeah,
can get
just
with you?
give
and-
us a call, I mean, cause every
Put it on
agenda
there.
that we put out is tentative, so you
Okay.
can add stuff at the very beginning of the meeting. But yeah, just give me a call, depending on how upset this other lady is, may try to get the agenda out a few more days in advance to
Or
try to
maybe
make
even
her
offer
happy.
to, put it on the website, or, I mean, if she has an email,
Yeah, I mean,
or call her.
I did put it on there Tuesday,
Okay,
first thing when I got here, but
okay. Well,
we kinda decided on the time late Friday afternoon.
we don't have to make any motions to adjourn or anything, do we?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. Did we set a date for the next meeting though?
No, I mean, I guess if it's just you and I mean, anything works for me too. Whatever works,
Whenever
fits
you
with your
want to.
schedule.
Well,
Could we maybe
I just
do
have
it-
some, I just have some vacation days that
Okay,
everybody in the office is maxed out on vacation days, so we're all having to
That's
take at least one a month.
maybe a couple weeks from now would be good.
Doctor's appointment sometime.
Okay.
Not bad.
But doing it during the day makes my life a whole lot easier,
Okay,
so.
that's great.
I'd rather do it.
I can live a few blocks away, I can do
I
it
can
during
work
the day.
around anything.
Okay,
So you want the first week of December, or you want sooner than that with Thanksgiving and?
yeah, why don't we just do the first week of December? That would be good.
So how about Wednesday? That's kind of middle of the week.
Okay,
December 5th work?
sounds good. Same time, 1:30?
Great for me.
Great for
Okay.
me.
Will we need to consider inviting another member of the council to join us on the committee?
Wanna
Well,
take three?
No,
I don't
it's-
know that it
The
matters.
ordinance doesn't really say anything, because I actually had to read it because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to send the agenda to all council members or just the people on the committee. And
Okay.
it doesn't say it has to have a certain number of
Okay.
people, so, I mean, we can ask Andrew if he wouldn't tell me today. I asked him, I said, are you gonna appoint somebody else? I don't know yet, so.
Well, I
But,
don't think he can appoint somebody else. Didn't the ordinance say that he has to appoint, the appointments have to be at the,
well, he'd have to do it at
First
a meeting.
meeting-
No,
first
that's what
meeting in
I
October.
asked, is that, are you planning on appointing anybody else? Let me grab the ordinance.
uh, alrighty. I didn't know how this would really work or if we would accomplish much, so
Oh, we're starting. You gotta start
it's the
somewhere.
beginning,
huh?
right? Baby
It says a
steps.
minimum of 2 members, so.
Okay. Alright,
You
we'll do
gotta
it.
start somewhere.
As long as you're nice to me, we'll just stick with 2.